everyone, this is Tom from MonTac here, and we are back at it again with another video. This is going to be Set 10 Spotlight. Joining me today, we've got Mini Smoke. We are going to be going through the first 10 cards that were released from Set 10. We're going to pick our top 6 to look into and see how this will be affecting the meta. How are you doing, Mini Smoke, and how are you excited for Set 10 so far?
Hello Tom, hello everyone, and pretty excited to see the new Set 10 cards because most of them will be consist of generic cards, so there's a lot of interactions and combos we might be seeing in the future. They're not restricted to an archetype, so I'm going to see very diversification in the game.
Yeah, 100%. And first off the bat, one of our number one spotlight to have a look at, we have got Fountain of Paradise. This is a Class 5 Red Diamond Tactical that is a constant, meaning it will be staying in play. While it's in play, it actually prevents players from discarding cards. And on top of that, the only way to get rid of this card would be if you send a card from your asset pile to the perish pile. Mini Smoke, how do you feel like this is going to affect the meta, and let's see how this goes? What do you think this is going to happen?
I think they're going to be mostly used because with cards that need to discard cards to be rid of it, like Hollowed Structure and the Regenerator cards, so you don't have to worry about losing your constants. And it is another great counter to Rogue Beasts, because a lot of Rogue Beasts trigger off when they're sent to the perish pile. They force you to discard a card from your hand. So I think if you are playing Rogue Beast, it will be only one of the few moments that you're mostly going to discard an asset card from your asset pile, because if you don't get rid of it, you might get pretty screwed with Fountain in play.
Certainly definitely locks off the ability to actually send the cards from hand for Rogue Beast, so I can definitely see that shutting them off for sure.
Yeah. So next up we have here is a simulation. Is a red tactical of class 1, and the effect is send up to 10 monster tokens in play to the perish pile. Then you may create one assimilation token, Otherworld Savage type, whose original power is equal to the combined power of all monsters that perish due to this effect. So another support for tokens. So can you elaborate more about that?
100%. So Assimilation is a very interesting card for two different reasons. The first reason is as a counter card. As we see more and more tokens hit the board, Assimilation allows you to not only whack out 10 of them, but allows you to bring out your own monster token using the power of the monsters that you actually killed. So Assimilation at max as a counter could deal with 10 monster tokens, giving you a 10,000 assimilation token of your own. But that's not where it ends. It gets far more interesting for people who are actually trying to use this as part of their token strategies, because as you have a look at assimilation, you can read that obviously it sacrifices all the tokens. Now, where this gets interesting is this. A lot of token decks face this massive problem where they have a lot of monsters and they go quite wide, as to say, and the biggest problem is they don't have high power. What this allows you to do is, at a certain point, having a 20, 30, 40 tokens doesn't really matter. However, if you can take 10 of those and make them into a 10k token, it can make a huge difference when your enemy tries to wall up with something like Upstart Angel. We've just seen that in the Bob vs Misfire match, and you gotta wonder if Assimilation was around at that time, if that would have made the difference. On top of that, we also have to have a look at cards like Top Threat Copy. Top Threat Copy is a card that allows you to select an enemy monster, and basically what it does is you can get a token equal to that enemy monster's power. It actually can also be your own as well, but for this example, we're going to look at Flower of the Ancients, 8,000 stat line. When that thing's coming your way, it's definitely very scary, so using a Top Threat token to get your own 8,000 token in play is quite useful. Now, where this gets interesting, of course, is Top Threat token has the downside that when the monster that it copied actually perishes, so does the Top Threat token. But what really matters here is, let's say for instance you're running a token deck like a Tribal Sage strategy. You could combine one of your Tribal Sage's helpers or Sage's helper tokens, I should say, with that actual copy from Top Threat Copy to create a brand new token that no longer leaves play when Flower does, which means you could have like a 9,500 token in play, and you've gotten all that boost with only to sacrifice 2 tokens for assimilation. So that kind of strategy is really, really interesting, and it can work around the downside of Top Threat Token. The only thing you have to worry about is keeping it in play, but thanks to Tribal Sage, it actually makes sure that while it's in play, monster tokens you command can only perish due to conflict. So as long as you can keep your Tribal Sage alive, and you can keep that brand new token you've made alive as well, you've got yourself a really scary endgame. Not to mention, if you, for any reason, Tribal Sage gets Mechanic Turmoiled, popped into the constant side of things, if you can keep it alive for long enough, that could be incredibly, incredibly dangerous. So the simulation's coming in as a very utilitarian strategy, and I'm really excited to see how it plays. But more than that, as we look into the next card, it is going to be Worldview. Worldview is a Class 1 Blue Diamond. Full preemptive strategies on this one. It's a constant tactical. It stays in play for basically the entire game. Whenever your enemy plays a card that you have previously declared, they lose 3 health points. This will be huge for a lot of those repetitive decks. But for more information, Mini Smoke, how do you think this is going to go?
I think it'll be pretty interesting because there's a lot of staple cards in this meta, like Hammer Down, Regeneration, and Terrosian Guard that are pretty scared, that can end your turn or turn around a conflict around. So yeah, and the multiple copies of like Torito and Snowy Snowman, so Bluey Snowman.
Bluey Snowman.
Yeah, those decks around multiple copies of the same card will have a pretty significant hit in their strategy. So the requirement to sacrifice the cards, there is a pretty interesting threshold, because 5 health points, it's the exact same amount of health points you start the game with. So if your opponent doesn't have a health gain, so to
deal with it, don't have the health to deal with it, it's going to be incredibly hard to get rid of for sure.
Yeah, so can stay in play in the early game for a little longer until your opponent has some sort of way to gain health points. So until that, Worldview will stay in play and counter all those staple cards. So pretty interesting card.
And 5 health is a lot. It's pretty expensive. It's a lot more than the typical amount, because you can't use it right off the bat turn 1, since everyone starts at 5.
Yes, indeed. So Torito, Snowman, Blue Snowman, so a lot of counter to these archetypes. So into the next one, we have Penguin Prince Papicho. Is a class 4 monster, a Divine Polar monster with power of 1000. So its specialty reads like, while this card is in play, it gains 1000 power for each Divine or Polar type monster in play. So while you command another Divine or Polar type monster with a different name while this card is in play, it cannot perish due to conflict. So pretty interesting card that can have a pretty big shenanigans with conflict, so you can crash into it. So can you explain it more to us?
So Papicho opens up the floodgates. This is a card that Misfire and I actually worked on for the set 10. This is quite interesting for people who are looking for that extra bit of flavor. We have got ourselves a Divine Polar hybrid deck waiting in the wings, ready to be done like never before. Penguin Prince, of course, being having that protection that while you command the Divine or Polar type, it cannot perish due to conflict, makes it so much scarier when you think about the cards like Divine Shield Gabriel and Divine Sword Azrael. These cards, for instance, like Azrael, when a Divine type monster you command is attacked, you can drop Azrael from your asset pile, and that will drop the enemy monster down to 0. On top of that, you also have access to Divine Shield Gabriel, so that if someone was to attack your Papicho and try to take it out, you can of course use Divine Shield Gabriel, and that might be in the case that Papicho has been specialty removed, and that Gabriel will get the specialty back. So both are incredible tactics for Picho, but you might be wondering how the heck are you supposed to set that up if this is not particularly an Angel deck? Well, other things you can do is, in this case, if you want to spec into using yet one more Angel card in Chosen Angel's Disciple, Troy. As a single Angel card, this can send 2 other Angel or Divine cards from your deck to the asset pile. If you do, it allows you a free search of up to 2 cards from your deck to your hand. So it's very utilitarian, very easy to use here. And it gives you a lot of options because you can spec into both the Divine and the Polar stuff. Let's not get even started on the Glacial Dominion Orzo. That thing is going to be nuts because every time it wins a conflict, it boosts everything else by 1,000. It even drops enemy monsters in play power-wise. This could be an incredible beatdown deck with a lot of tactics that people are going to struggle with. And of course, the most important thing, Picho is adorable, so you can just absolutely smack people left and right with this adorable little penguin. And to complement him, of course, in the same release, we've actually got Tri-Horn Penguin, so if you want that extra bit of flavor, this allows you to only need 2 polar types, which is quite easy to do. You can actually just take command of an enemy monster until the Tri-Horn Penguin leaves play, which means you are dealing with stuff like Flower of the Ancients, you're dealing with Biomech Dragon, you're dealing with really anything that stays on the field for even more than a turn, and you could just take command of it like that. So it's incredibly scary, and I think this could be a very fun, very goofy, and a deck you will 100% enjoy. But as we get on to the last one for Mini Smoke, it looks like we have got ourselves Invasive Species, Blue Diamond Tactical. It's Class 1, it's constant, and it really brings in a retro card from set 1 into the meta game. We have got ourselves, if you have type change in your Perish pile, you can basically say that while Invasive Species is in play, all monsters are the specific type you declare. So let's say, for instance, you play Invasive Species, you declare Savage Fighter. That means as soon as another monster hits the field, it becomes a Savage Fighter type. Now, Mini Smoke, you're going to have a lot more information about how this could be used in the meta. Let's hear it.
So, first things first, one of the obvious combos that we have with Invasive Species is the Catastrophe monster that lets you win the game if you win a conflict against a 3,000 or more Savage Fighter monster that your opponent controls. So, if you use Invasive and with Catastrophe, you can set up any monster your opponent has into a Savage Fighter. So there's a pretty interesting combo-wise deck to look forward with this card. Plus, it can really disruptive Sky Soldiers and Terosians because they really care about the Mythic type and the Marine type. So there's a lot of interactions with monster type that can be punished by Invasive Species, and as well as Angels, because Divine Sword and Divine Shield, they care about Divine type of the monster, so if you change that, you don't have to worry about it. So pretty big hit in the Angels deck, and yeah. So, and about Papicho, there's one thing that people might be missing, it's Jade Plague. So with Jade Plague, if the monster wins a conflict, they need to or sacrifice that monster or lose 1 health point. So since Papicho cannot perish due to conflict, if Papicho has, I don't know, 3 attacks, that could be like a 3 damage burn or a board wipe. Like, that's pretty interesting interaction there, because like if Papicho doesn't have a high power, it will probably lose and trigger the Jade Plague on the opponent monster. So I think that would be a pretty interesting interaction we might see, so who knows.
Interesting. I think it would limit itself at 2 monsters from Jade Plague, just because obviously the 2 per turn rule. But yeah, you could definitely deal 2, and that could be consistent every turn. Another massive thing for Sky Soldiers, they're actually a bit lucky in this case, actually, with Invasive Species. Because of the way it works, it's basically when the monster is played, it will keep its typing, but after it's being played, after any preemptive specialties have triggered, it will become the new type. So it won't necessarily ruin Sky Soldiers, luckily for them, but it is still something to be looking out for, especially in that the Picho strategy we just talked about. Invasive species could completely flip that on its head if the Picho got made into like an igneous fighter where he can't use the swords, can't use any polar strats. You're 100% correct. That could be incredibly dangerous.
So another card we have is some. There might be a throwback to some older fans. It's Firestar General. It's a class 6 monster, igneous type, igneous fighter type with a power of 1800. So its specialty is during your preparation stage, you may impose. So during your preparation stage, while this card is in play, you may sacrifice one card you command to play up one card from your deck or hand regardless of class. So it's a pretty interesting card. So it set up free play to your other class 5 or 6s in your deck that have a pretty high class. So which are the interactions we might be seeing from Firestar General?
Yeah, so Firestar General is actually history making. We have never yet had a non-dragon with impose, but it just so works here because of the fact that Firestar General, when you impose it, if they let it through, the floodgates open. I've said this previously, but it does get crazy because what Firestar General can do is you can send any monster you command to the perish pile to play up to any card. Any card, doesn't have to be a monster from your deck or hand regardless of class. If you're having trouble getting out that Fountain of Paradise, you can use your Firestar General to bring it out from your hand or deck. It sets up a lot of constant strategies, but on top of that, you might be wondering, well, I still have to give up that monster. What are my options? Your options are this. You can sacrifice Firestar General if you'd like to, if you just want to get it off the board. If you're trying to make space for other strategies, that might be the best thing for you. Alternatively, Firestar General can use cards like Goldhorn Ravager. When Goldhorn would parachute a specialty, sleeper skill, or effect, you can force your enemy to discard a card and then it replays itself. So not only are you getting cards out from your deck or hand with Firestar General, you're forcing the discard from your enemy, you're getting back a Goldhorn Ravager that then has additional attacks. It's a really neat combo you can do, and it's just all about not letting Firestar General hit the field. But it doesn't even matter if they don't say yes to the impose, because you can use cards like Draco Fist from the Sunwalker archetype to get out igneous type monsters. It doesn't even specify that it has to be Sunwalker. This is giving Firestar General so much support into how it could be played. I'm really excited to see how this thing is going to go.
I think these first 10 cards feel pretty interesting niches in the game, like the hand discard and the type changing effect. So we might see a lot of new niche cards on set 10 as well that were not filled before with the cards already existed. So yeah, I think it'll be fun to see it.
100%. Well, that wraps up our little spotlight there for set 10. We will be here for the next one. Interesting to see. I know the next reveal will be, or the next release will be December, and it's going to be a cold one. So we'll see if y'all can interpret that, what that means. But it's going to be very interesting to see how people react to it. I'm very excited. I know Mini Smoke's very excited. With that, it basically wraps up the video. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Tom. That was Mini Smoke. Thank you guys. And yeah, if you're interested in playing the game, check out the link in the in the description. You'll have the Discord. You'll have all of our weekly games and stuff. So give it a check out. See what you think. And yeah, we're always here to help you out if you have any questions. See you guys later.